They say blood is thicker than water, but apparently royal blood comes with an expiration date. And right now, Prince Harry is watching that clock tick louder than ever before. Because while he's been busy building a new life thousands of miles away, something has been happening inside the palace walls that changes everything. And it's not just about who's in, it's about who's being systematically left out. Let me take you back to something that should have been a quiet moment but turned into a glaring neon sign. Recently, the royals stepped out for a public appearance, and cameras caught something interesting. Standing there among senior working members of the royal family was Carole Middleton. Yes, Kate Middleton's mother. Now, on the surface, it's just a proud grandma supporting her daughter. But if you understand how the monarchy operates, you know this wasn't just a casual family outing. This was a statement. Think about that for a second. The mother of the future queen, not a blood royal, not born into aristocracy, standing shoulder to shoulder with the most senior figures in the British monarchy. That image alone tells you everything about the direction the royal family is heading. And it's a direction that, sources suggest, has Prince Harry feeling some type of way. Because while the Middletons are being welcomed deeper into the fold, Harry and Meghan are becoming. Well, let's just say the invitation list is getting shorter. But here's where it gets really complicated. According to multiple reports, there's a new exposé book making waves, written by Tom Bower, a name that's been causing sleepless nights in Montecito. The book allegedly contains claims that Meghan Markle has heavily influenced Harry's decisions and actions. Now, I want to pause here because this is where things get messy. Is it influence? Is it partnership? Is it control? Everyone seems to have an opinion, but here's what we actually know. Harry is reportedly preparing to defend himself and his wife against these allegations. But here's the thing about the media machine. Once it starts rolling, it doesn't stop to check whose feelings are in the way. The narrative suggests that no matter what Harry does publicly, attention will remain fixed on the new revelations rather than his actions. It's like trying to plug a dam with a band-aid while someone keeps drilling new holes. And speaking of losing battles, let's talk about what's happening behind palace gates. Because if you think Harry's only problem is bad press, you haven't been paying attention. The royal family recently went through something that, according to sources close to Harry, absolutely shook him to his core. I'm talking about Prince Andrew. Now let's be real for a moment. Andrew was considered untouchable for decades, born to the Queen, brother to the King, living the high life with titles, money, and royal protection that seemed impenetrable. And then, in what felt like record time, it all disappeared. Titles stripped, military affiliations removed, royal residences essentially off-limits. The man went from senior royal to persona non grata faster than you can say scandal. And Harry reportedly watched this happen. Watched a man who was born into the same privilege, the same bloodline, the same royal bubble, lose everything because the winds shifted. Now, I'm no psychologist, but I can tell you this. Watching someone fall from grace when you're standing on the same tightrope. That changes you. It makes you look at your own footing a little differently. Here's what's keeping Harry busy right now, the Invictus Games. He's gearing up for the next launch, which is scheduled to take place in Birmingham. On paper, it's a noble event, a cause Harry genuinely cares about. But here's where reality crashes the party. Birmingham, according to local reports, has been dealing with some issues. Waste strikes, service disruptions, and in some areas, officials have reportedly been battling rat infestations. Now imagine being Harry. You're trying to put on this major international event to showcase resilience and strength, and the location is literally dealing with garbage piling up and unwanted rodents. The potential for negative publicity here is massive. And while Harry doesn't control municipal services, the headlines will certainly find a way to connect the dots. Invictus Games marred by venue issues writes itself. But let's zoom out for a second, because this is about more than just one event or one book. This is about legacy. This is about relevance. And according to multiple royal commentators, This is about Harry confronting a reality he may not have fully prepared for. When Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties, the narrative was about freedom, about carving their own path, about building something new. And for a while that worked. They signed deals, they spoke their truth, they controlled their narrative. But here's the thing about control, it's an illusion. And the royal family, with its centuries of institutional power, knows how to wait. What we're seeing now, sources claim, is the long game playing out. Prince William is reportedly involving the Middleton family more and more in royal duties, and not just as guests, as support systems, as confidants, as the inner circle. Carole Middleton appearing alongside senior royals isn't just a photo op. It's a signal that William is building his team, his support structure, his future reign. And that team, it doesn't seem to include a seat for Harry. Now here's where my personal observation comes in, and I want to be fair here. The Middleton family has handled their role with remarkable grace. They've stayed in their lane, supported their daughter, and slowly become an integral part of the royal machinery. Carole Middleton went from running a party supply business to being positioned alongside working royals. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens because William wants it. Because William is thinking about his future as king and who he wants around him. And can you blame him? When you're preparing to take on the most scrutinized job in the world, you surround yourself with people you trust, people who have been there, people who haven't written tell-all books or given interviews that dominate headlines for weeks. This is the part that, according to insiders, is hitting Harry hardest. It's not just that he's out. It's that the family is moving on. They're filling the space he left. And they're doing it with people who, by traditional royal standards, wouldn't have been anywhere near the center of power just a generation ago. There's an irony here that I can't ignore. Harry and Meghan left to escape the confines of the royal structure. But in leaving, they may have accelerated exactly what they didn't want, being replaced. And not replaced by another controversial figure or another dramatic storyline. Replaced by stability, by reliability, by Kate's mum helping with the kids. Meghan, for her part, is reportedly less concerned about the royal connection fading. Sources suggest she's focused on their brand, their projects, their future outside the monarchy. And that makes sense. She wasn't raised in that system, doesn't have the same emotional ties to it. But Harry was born into it. It shaped him, defined him, and now, according to those who know him, he's watching it reshape itself without him. And that brings us back to Prince Andrew. Because Andrew's downfall wasn't just about scandal, it was about the institution protecting itself. The monarchy, at its core, is a survival mechanism. It adapts, it prunes, it makes sacrifices to keep the main branch healthy. And if it could cut loose the Queen's favorite son, the king's own brother, what does that mean for a grandson who lives 5,000 miles away and regularly makes headlines the palace would rather avoid? The legal battles Harry is fighting, particularly over security issues, take on a different light when you consider this. He's not just fighting for protection. He's fighting to maintain a connection, to force the institution to acknowledge that he's still part of it. But institutions don't respond well to being forced. And here's where the next chapter gets written. The Invictus Games will happen. The book will be published. The interviews will be given. But underneath all of that, there's a quieter story about a man realizing that the door he left open behind him might have been closed from the other side. William and Kate are solidifying their position. The Middleton family is being woven into the fabric of the future monarchy. Charles is focused on his reign and streamlining the institution. And somewhere in California, Harry is watching all of this unfold on television, reading about it in articles, hearing about it from sources. The gap between his expectations and reality, sources claim, is widening. And the hardest part, there may not be anything he can do about it. You can't force your way back into a family that's already rearranged the furniture. You can't demand relevance when the institution has clearly demonstrated it can function, and perhaps function better, without you. This isn't a story about villains and heroes, or about choosing sides between good and bad. It's something far more complex than that. At its heart, this is about the tangled reality of family, fame, and an institution that has survived for over 1,000 years by carefully playing the long game. The monarchy doesn't react quickly or emotionally. It adapts slow, strategically, always thinking about the future. And right now, all signs suggest that the future it's shaping may not include Prince Harry in any meaningful way. Family dynamics are never simple, and when you add global fame, public scrutiny, and centuries of tradition into the mix, things become even more complicated. Every decision, every appearance, and every public moment carries weight. What might seem like a small shift on the surface often signals something much bigger happening behind the scenes. The royal family, in particular, has always been about continuity, about ensuring stability no matter what challenges arise. That's why recent developments feel so significant. With each public appearance by the Middleton family, especially alongside senior royals, there's a growing sense that the inner circle is becoming more defined and more exclusive. Prince William appears to be strengthening his support system, bringing in people he trusts as he prepares for his future role as king. This isn't just about family closeness. It's about building a reliable structure for the monarchy's next chapter. At the same time, Prince Harry's path seems to be moving further away from that center. His projects, his public statements, and even his challenges, like the ongoing focus on the Invictus Games, are happening outside the royal framework. While these efforts are meaningful in their own right, they don't necessarily reconnect him to the institution he once represented. Instead, they highlight the distance that has grown over time. Naturally, the question of reconciliation still lingers. Families, no matter how strained, often find ways to heal. And in a family as high-profile as this one, the possibility can never be completely ruled out. But according to many observers, that window of opportunity may be slowly closing. With every passing event, whether it's a public appearance, a new project, or even another book release, the gap seems to widen just a little more. What makes this situation particularly striking is how subtle yet decisive these shifts are. There's no dramatic announcement, no clear-cut moment where everything changes. Instead, it's a gradual process, almost quiet in nature but powerful in its impact. The monarchy moves forward, step by step, reinforcing its future direction. So now, the real question isn't whether Harry wants to return or reconnect. It's whether that option still truly exists. Is there still a place for him within the structure that is steadily evolving without him? Because if recent events are anything to go by, the future is already being organized. The roles are being defined, the people are taking their positions, and the path ahead is becoming clearer. The table, so to speak, has already been set, and at least for now, it seems like Harry's name isn't on the place card.